You're listening to the Two in the Mud podcast with Tony Rico and Scott Smith. Welcome to episode 2 of Two in the Mud. T, we've been stuck in the mud both times we're trying to start these podcasts, and it's like two monkeys playing around with a football, right? Like it's bad.
You know what's
It's
funny, Scott, is that staff that we have that props us up and allows us to do what we do. They're laughing
oh
that you and
man,
I are trying to do this on our own.
yeah. That
So,
we're like, no, we got this. Like we got it. Don't worry about it.
well, all that whatever's just going on is called pre-production.
Yeah, like, and it's a
Also,
big time
figuring shit
production.
out.
Yes, figure shit out. FIO,
All
figure
right,
some
here,
shit out.
listen. I got a great response just from messages and such, and I want to tell you, like, just thanks. Episode 1 was great, and I seem to enjoy myself, so I found myself laughing a lot, just kind of. But I had a great time, and I just want to give props to you. I mean, we've always had a great relationship, Scott, and we talked about this, like presenting each other and things like that, allowing people to see a different side. But your level of respect and humility towards our program, what I do and stuff, and it's important for me. Like, we're gonna tell each other's story of all the meat and potatoes because what you've done with the Bombers, and there's so many good things to extract from it. But I just want to make sure that it's like when people think you're going to talk about something, we don't talk about it. But then we'll
No,
slip it in, and it's like softball stuff. We'll talk about it here in the episode, but there's so many other good things just that are enjoyable to talk about. But anyways, I just really appreciate your approach, and I think that it was a really good time for me. So here we are, number 2.
no, it was badass, man, and I had a great time, and that was the kind of the feedback I got too. Was like, dude, it's like just sitting around the ballpark, and you guys are just BSing about
Yeah.
whatever, and that's really what obviously, and you and I talked about this. That's what we hope this becomes is more of a conversation about stuff, and it's going to include a bunch of softball stuff. But man, there's so much more, and I think that's probably to me that's one of the things that I think is unique, Tony, for um, my ability to have gotten to know you was how many things actually shaped who you are. Like we all say that this shapes us, this affected me, this did that, this did this, but that truly is the person and coach that you are is how many different life experiences that come into play and moments and games and associations and getting to know people and all those different aspects to it actually make it where you're you are who you are because of those things, and that's
Kind of I
so
say
true.
explains the craziness. All right, so here's one for you. What kind of kid were you?
Dude, I was bad, bro. Like I was bad. Like these are true stories. Like if you got like my mom's like 5'2", like she's little she whipped my ass, bro. Like every tree in our yard had no limbs because she'd break those things off and whip my ass with them. Like we had the one
And your
stick.
and your neighbors could see when that was happening?
Oh yeah, dude, they could see, hear,
Uh-oh.
right? Like so, like this is. I'll tell you a funny story, bro. Like this is as true as I'm being dead serious about this. So I probably was about 4 or 5 years old, and my mom went to the bank, right? And she went inside the bank, and my mom's friend was sitting in the front seat with me. So mom had to go into the bank, and I was sitting in the back seat. I wasn't even there. It wasn't like you had a car seat back then. I was just in the back seat, right? I was 5, and shit, I don't even think my mom would have put us in a car seat if there was been car seats. She was like, she needed more access to whipping our ass, right? But I was in the back seat. She went in, and I knew at that age that you got those little dum dum lollipops at the bank, right? So my mom got out really fast, told me to stay in the car. I didn't want to stay in the car. So my mom's friend was trying to like put her hand back there, like, no, 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 you stay in the car. You stay, you can't go in. Your mom will be right back. I don't know how I rationalized it at 5 years old, but I was gonna go inside. Like that this lady up front wasn't gonna stop me. I didn't even know who she was really. I just knew she was my mom's friend. My dad had some tools on the floorboard, right? Like crescent wrench and some, all the shit you carry around in your 1972 Dodge Dart or whatever that we were driving around in.
Dragon.
So I reached down and grabbed a crescent wrench and I knocked my mom's friend out on the back of the head, like knocked her out, like she's like sleeping, blood coming down. I walk in, bro. I come walking out with my mom licking that lollipop. Hey, my mom's friends KO. They thought she got robbed, bro. Like my mom thought my mom was all mad that my mom's friend let the 5-year-old walk into the bank. I'm just walking around with my lollipop. Didn't well, come find out I had to admit that I knocked my friend's mom. So that is the type of kid I was. Like I was bad.
All right, so here's what I'm curious about. You knew you needed to knock her out to get out of the car because sometimes a 5-year-old kid like that, when someone says, "Why'd you do it?" You're like, "I don't know. I just wanted to see what would happen." So, like, was there
It's just
reasoning?
the lollipop, bro.
Yeah, you needed to get to that
The
lollipop.
lollipop. Like I was also the kid. This true story too, and it didn't get better, bro. It didn't get better. I was like, I got to high school. So, you had like 2-a-days. You had practice in the morning, and you had practice in the afternoon for football, and 2-a-days. So I had a pool at my house growing up. Some my buddies in the mall come to my house after practice. We hang out, BS. My brother's 5 years younger than me, right? So I probably was a senior in high school. So this would probably put my brother in about 8th grade. I used to, man, I'll be honest. I used to pick on my brother and do stupid shit to him. We had a plum tree, right, at our house. Like we lived on some land. We had horses and all that. We had a plum tree. So me and 2 or 3 of my buddies came to my house. Well, we thought it would be cool to tie up my brother to the plum tree, right? Well, the plums get super ripe. They fall off the tree, right? So we got, the wrist rockets, slingshots, the
Oh
wrist
yeah.
rockets. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude, like all of us are with wrist rockets shooting my brother with the right plums. Like my brother looked like Barney. Like he was purple, right? My dad came home with my ass. I was 12 years. I was in 12th grade, getting my ass kicked by my dad because I tied my brother up to a plum tree and beat him up with plums.
But see,
I
Scott, you had to
did
be
get
somewhat of
better as
a
I got older, though. I did get better.
well, you had to be somewhat of a visionary to do these things, right? Like how about the 10 pump BB gun? Like we used to shoot each other with BB guns, and then some guy comes out and he's going choo 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 choo. I go, what the heck is that? And he goes, this is a 10 pump. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, watch this. He pumps up like 5 times and starts putting holes in things, right? So we had a rule that you could only pump it twice, I
Yeah,
think,
because
right?
you hurt too
But
bad.
don't, then you get hit. You go, bro, that was not a 2 pump hit. Like that thing's inside me right now. So,
Yeah, yes.
anyways, I just thought I'd throw that out there because again, uh, I can't count how many times I say
Did you ever
I'm
shoot
the
bottle
oldest one in the
rockets
room.
at each other? Like, did you ever shoot bottle rockets at each other?
So that was the thing we did down in Mexico. So when we go down to Rosarito Beach, you could buy
Yeah,
like I swear they were like M80s on like sticks or twigs. And literally you could see another family down the beach and they would be shooting. Then you start aiming them at each other. And then basically you're having like little small mortar fire like towards each other and hit one. And if you just come
bro.
close once, that's worth the whole night.
Dude, dude, we used to shoot the shit out of each other. Like to the point, like, if we did that today, oh, our parents would go to jail. They go to
Yeah.
jail for letting us shoot. My mom, I'm telling you right now, my mom would still be in jail if they realized, like, if my mom, if everything was centered around today and she whipped my ass as much as she did then now. Like I used to grab my mom, like I'd be in the back seat, my mom's driving down the road, I'm choking her by pulling her shirt and shit. She's pulling off the side of the road, beating me.
God damn,
I mean,
Scott! I'm telling you, I've seen you do that with a couple umpires a couple of times when you wanted to.
yeah,
Now I see where it came from. All right.
yeah. But my mom, like I'm making my mom sound out like she was bad. Like my mom really centered us right, dog. Like there was consequence. Like she was on point. My dad got home, he didn't have to do nothing because we done had our ass whooped bad, right?
Yeah.
Like just that's how it was. Probably we're missing that in today's society a little bit, but yeah, I had the best mom growing up. There's no doubt. Like,
Man, if my mom would have been held accountable for stuff I did, that makes me cry just thinking about it. My mom was the perfect angel. Like she did it. Man, you think about like when my mom passed. Oh, God forbid she saw a reel of all the things that I did. I'll be like, mom, trust me. Like I wasn't I
but
wasn't purposely misrepresenting. Like
let me ask you this question about how your mom handled things. Like, did your mom Like when you got in trouble, did she wait for like was it like, hey, you wait till your dad gets home? Or did she handle business right out the gate?
My- Bro, I'm just telling you, my mom was perfect. I don't remember a day my mom lost her shit. I don't remember. And she knew how to be stern with me. The only time my mom ever enforce something with me was, you're talking about getting hit with a switch, right? So our
Yeah.
neighbors were from Missouri across the street. And so when Grandma Jenny would go outside and break a switch off the tree, and then she'd strip the leaves off, and I'd be in the front of our house going, oh, damn, somebody's about to get it. And so one of her grandkids, Julie, who I grew up with, I just thought it would be funny. Julie used to hang out over our house a lot, and I thought it would be funny to go over their house, break off a switch. And I was chasing my sister and my neighbor Julie around the front yard, and I was swinging the switch around, right? And I was acting like I was her grandma, like I was going to hit him. And my mom saw me, and it's the only time she's ever screamed my name. And she said, "Get in here." I dropped the switch. I start to walk into the house, and she said, "Bring the switch." And I was like, "Oh, now my mom never really physically like did anything to me." And I was like, "Well, what are we going to do with that, mom? You're not a physical like that." And then she says, "Julie came in here too." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, mom, why is she coming in here? Like she doesn't need to come in here too like that." My mom puts me on her lap. I'm probably 7, 8, pulls my pants down, shows my butt to Julie, and then swats me about 3 times with that switch. And it's not the physical pain of the switch; it's the trauma of knowing that my neighbor saw my butt, and that and that the whole process had been reversed of like what I thought was funny being Grandma Jenny, and now I'm getting my butt whipped with the switch. It was just 3 times, but
God,
that
those
was it. My mom knew how to be, and this is again, I'll get corny with the relatable things, right? Like if there's no figure of dignity, right? If there's no figure of consistency, then how are you supposed to have it,
hmm
right? And so I had that. Like I just had this role model that through the best and worst of life, my mom was this pretty even keel. And we won't get into my childhood, maybe on another one, but I put her through some stuff, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it wouldn't be a surprise. But anyways, I want to get into that. Here's just a numbers question. Let's take 5 seconds, okay? Because those that know you won't know why I'm asking. How many text messages do you have on your phone right now?
Dude,
What's the number, bro? What's the
come on,
number? Let's
bro.
go.
Come on. I'll show
Give me a
you.
number.
I'm gonna show the screen. Now, this is not like I don't even know. So it's the one on the far left. He probably can't see it. It's too
Yeah, you
shadowed
can't
out.
see it. Was it seven
Two
thousand?
2,000. It's not that bad. 2,423. What about yours?
It's not my text message. It's my Gmail. Can't see it. No, can't see it.
Yeah.
14,311.
What? What? 14,000. Oh my god. That is
I
your
don't think I've ever. I don't think ever learned to delete anything off of Gmail.
dude. Google is right now having a meeting. They're having a meeting right now, and they're saying, "Listen, we've got users that
This
are
guy's
taking
taking
up
up our
too much
storage space.
bandwidth." Yeah, like we've got. Could someone call this Tony Rico guy and tell him
Listen,
that? Yeah,
there's trade-offs, right? There's trade-offs for the things that we do. Okay, I want to get to one other thing, and since we're
but hold on.
highly,
Let's don't get too far away from these text messages because you're making it look like that I don't answer people's text messages. That's not true. Though, like this is not like I'm
what do
gonna
you
I'm
save
gonna
them
go
as
through,
new? Then I mean,
bro. This is
I'm glad
not.
I'm one of the 10 people you actually answer.
No, bro, like this is not really real. Like sometimes like somebody will give me a thumbs up. I don't need to open that text message. I see the thumb. Like I don't need to open up the text message to see the thumb. I can see the thumb. That's the only thing there. That I have a bunch of those. Or like on my way. I don't need to open a text message that I can read the three words that are on there. Right? McCorkle and I get into this shit all the time. Like plus here like this one. Like, Scott, take advantage of new insurance premium. I'm not opening that.
What?
Yeah, I'm getting text messages like take advantage of new insurance premiums on your behalf. Health insurance
Bro,
options that are designed for employed self-business owners in 2025. I don't need to open that shit.
that gives me text rage right there. If that's a thing, you start sending me that stuff. Give me a break.
Yeah. So, to those people out there that send me text message, you send me a text message, I'm gonna respond to it. If you give me a thumbs up, I'm not gonna open it. I'll probably give you a thumbs up back. Right?
If you're lucky. Hey, just explaining the animal, man. Just explaining the animals.
14,000 emails, bro.
Bro, listen, they're not just like you said, they're not unopened. So, my life support system has figured out how to connect my Gmail with my AOL account, and so I
The
usually go
fact
through
that you
that
still
one
have an
because
AO is I didn't even know AOL was still a thing.
there's like seven of us left, and I'm proud of those
Does
people.
like when you wait, hold on,
Instant
when you
Messenger.
when you turn it on, does it go like
No.
like does it do that shit?
No, but I would put that on like, as a soundbite if I could. Are you kidding me? That
Yeah.
takes me
Do you
back.
remember those days?
Bro,
Like
when I started, I remember telling Melinda, like, I didn't want a phone, I didn't want a computer. And there's something else I told her. And she goes, well, that's not going to last very long if you want to try to be able to take care of your kids. So,
but bro, I just remember that sound.
yeah.
Like when you were doing something and like the dial up.
And it
Like
would take forever, right? Forever.
but
All right,
bro,
bud, I want to show,
that
I want to
wasn't
show you
that long
something.
that wasn't that long ago though. What do you
90s, right? I'll say
yeah.
90s.
Oh, we
All right,
going
can you
video.
see this?
So let's yes, yeah, I
All
can
right.
see it. Let's don't gloss over the fact that you and I have navigated the technology space of this platform we're on that we can show a video
Okay.
and still talk about it.
Bro, this is like we're winning, but it's the fifth inning. Don't say anything until I get back to you after this. All right.
All
So
right, I got you.
we
I
got
got you.
this far. All
I
right.
got
So I would preface this so that people go, what are you talking about? This is the greatest outfield play in the history of Major League Baseball. Now you're thinking, what? Like you thought of Willie Mays over the head. You thought of
Were
Jim
you at this game?
Edmonds.
Wait,
You
this
thought
is
of
1974. You were probably about 20 at the
I
time,
was
right?
nine fucker. So, and I would
Okay.
have been at this game if I could have, but for me, just to be able to be home because these games started at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so you had to talk your mom into like let you stay home from school that day and
How
be.
old were you? How old
I,
were you?
I was nine, yeah, nine right here, 74. All right, so here's what we got: Reggie Jackson at the plate. All right, he hits a fly ball to center field. Let's play this. And you're going to see regular center fielder, right? The Jimmy Wynn, the toy cannon right there, number 3 hitter for the Dodgers. Over here
Mm-hmm.
in right field is Joe Ferguson. He was the Dodgers' other catcher, used to platoon with Steve Yeager, and he had a really good bat. He was actually one of my two favorite players. Him and George Brett were the guys I watched a lot growing up. So Ferguson's in right field. This is the World Series. And so in games like this, sometimes players who need to make a play say, hey, no, I'll take that ball. So look at Wynn's about to catch that ball, the center fielder. And the right fielder catcher says, no, I'll take that, and proceeds to throw a strike right on the plate. Now, gosh, Scott, how many people are thinking obstruction, right? This would have been really
Yeah.
sad to
Yeah.
deny this play because now Yeager gets knocked over, turns and shows the ball. His hair's not messed up, and watch when Yeager turns around. He's still got his sunglasses on.
That's
Bro,
legit.
like this
That's
is
legit.
so how many times have we seen not a ball in the gap, right, where the off outfielder calls for the ball. This is almost straight center field. That's mine. Not even a true outfielder. Throw a strike. Gets this was before Mike Scioscia was getting creamed, right? Kind of interesting that it was Gene Tennis got ran over by Pete Rose.
Yeah.
And then, bro, this is just it. So if people haven't seen this play,
Dude, that's a missile.
I just felt a responsibility to share that
That's a missile.
because that was
Oh yeah,
absolutely
today that's absolutely obstruction. People be crying about that.
you're
Is
gonna
that
make me
the
cry.
dumb is one let's talk about these two
But
things.
you're gonna trigger umpires, bro.
I trigger them. I walk in the ballpark and trigger them some bitches, right? So let me ask you, and there's so many good ones. I say that like they're all bad. There's so many good ones. Um, let's talk about what do you think the conversation was after the play with Dude and Wright and the center fielder. How do you think that went?
Who do you want me to be? The center fielder?
Yes, be the center fielder.
Bro, what the fuck? I could have made that play.
You
Now
gotta
I'll be
pop.
Joe. Now I'll be Joe Ferguson. Shut the fuck up.
Mhm.
I took that ball because I knew you couldn't make that play.
You got a pop gun, Bernard,
And we
dude.
need to win this game. Now I'll go to
Yeah.
Steve Yeager. Bro, my glasses were still on. My hair looks good. I'm gonna do a commercial tonight in Hollywood. Like, give me a break, dude. That I could just imagine. Like, I don't know. Dodgers didn't have a forum club back then, but I could just imagine. Like,
So I got to ask you. I want to still talk about this, but I want to remember to ask you about. Remember, I'm going to ask you this question and be thinking about it, dude. What was LA like back in those days? Like with the Dodgers being the Dodgers, like not that the Dodgers aren't now, like they're reemerging as like the thing, right? But I've been to Dodger Stadium. We did that tour
Yeah, yeah,
at Dodger Stadium. That was so cool.
yeah.
And
Got
the
to be in
thing
the
about it,
boardroom.
yes, the thing that freaked with Nomar Garcia Parra, how cool was that?
Yeah.
Um, but the thing that struck me so much, and if you've never been to Dodger Stadium, and I'm sure that plenty of people that listen to this have, but if you haven't, you have to go watch a game at Dodger Stadium because it's like 1970s. Like the facade and everything makes you feel like you're walking into a ballpark that's 1970s. It's like they took a 1970 vehicle and put Tesla inside of it. Like everything in it is high tech inside, but when you walk up, what the feel you get is like you're walking back in time to the stadium. And then you get inside and it's completely 2025, right? Like it's incredible, it's beautiful, but the video board is still in the context of the
You don't
1970s.
you don't feel like you're in a musty 1974 car. Like
No, no, it's as if they
but it's
redid
the
the whole
same.
thing.
It's the same shell. Yeah,
Dude, it's such a cool feeling in
yeah,
that ballpark.
yeah,
It's such a cool place to watch a game.
yeah.
But yeah, the conversation between those two, going back to the dugout, I'm sure was interesting. Like, bro, you just embarrassed me on freaking TV. Like, I had that dude. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't have that dude.
So here's one for you. There was a team called the Colorado Legend that we used to play a lot in Colorado, uh, and it was Coach Jim, and knew him after a few years. We would like pretty much see him at some point every year, and he, uh, kind of a middle of the road team, good, not great, right, not horrible, but decent, but they would have their fair share of learning, right? And you would always hear these noises coming out of this coach, like the whistles, the noises, and so after about 3 or 4 years. I'm like, okay, like you just sound like a ball player. You're making all these noises. Like you played some ball, didn't you? And like he kind of looks down at the ground and he goes, "Yeah, I played a little bit." And I'm like, "Oh shit, here we go." Like when they downplay it like that, it's like, okay. And I'm like, "All right,
Hmm.
so you didn't just play minor leagues, like you played some big leagues." He goes, "Yeah, I played. I pitched a little bit." I'm like, "All right, so give me an idea, man. Like I'm just telling you, I appreciate the way you sound and everything like that." And he goes, I played a little bit for the A's." And I said, Okay, like what years?" And mid 70s. He basically his name was Jim Todd, is Jim Todd, and he was the setup man for Raleigh Fingers, right? So when he comes out and tells me I was a setup man for Raleigh Fingers, I'm like, bro, and here we are. I've known you like 3 or 4 years, and here we are talking about whatever.
Hmm.
I need to hear stories, man. I need to
Yeah.
hear Oakland A's stories. That was the team I watched play my Dodgers. You know that. And he just says, "Hey Tony, I'll tell you one thing right now. Like off the field, we couldn't stand each other. Like we were so different. So just think of the egos on that team and stuff."
Hmm.
He goes, "But
Yeah.
on the field, he goes, we kill for each other. Like
That's cool.
there was something that took place on the field. And anytime I get inside of a big league clubhouse story or something that behind the scenes of a story that we've always seen, right? Like the first time I saw it was on the other side of Fenway Park or the Big Green Monster, right? And I've always seen it on TV,
Hmm.
but the first time
Yeah.
I went there and got to see it was on the other side, I was like, bro, that's the other half of that. Like, cause I've always seen balls on this side of it. And so I
Hmm.
always just think that kind of stuff. And I would imagine you would have some pretty cool experiences too with some ball players and stuff that you know.
Yeah. No, man. There's just so many cool stories about what you think it's like and what they're experiencing are probably so different.
Right.
Um, I relate that like we coach females, bro. Like they don't all get along.
Oh, bro.
And like they're so the dynamics of coaching females. You put 16, 17, 18, 20 females in a dugout and make them spend 20 weekends a year with each other and like that's a challenging thing and I think that's as big a challenge for a coach as coaching on field is managing like you talk about the big leagues are managing egos. Believe it or not, we're managing some egos.
Well, if you're
And
going to
they're
win championships, you also need a certain amount. A key ingredient is bitch.
yeah. Yes.
Now managed bitch versus unmanaged, and
Yes.
but I mean, you have to have some of that. It's not uncommon that that's there in coaches, right?
Yeah.
And at the top, and I'm not excusing. Okay, so people go, yeah, yeah, but it explains like you do have to have a balance of that, and a lot of times those players that get it done in the moment, they don't feel like giving you a high five after they strike out,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Cat Kat and I talk about this. We coach together now. A lot of her teammates didn't like her, right? Like they didn't, but they loved being on the field with her. They loved that she was on their side, but she held them accountable, and she was always ready, and her pregame was different than theirs, and all those different things. And it's so unique and that's one of the things I've tried to be better at now as a coach is managing that stuff, because I think it translates on the field better, and not necessarily trying to find people that will coexist with one another, but trying to balance the challenges that come with coexisting, right? And finding that way for those people to get along with one another, and maybe you're not going to go to the movies together after this, but you're gonna ride and die for each other when you get on the field, and it says Bombers across your chest. I mean, like I think that's as much of a thing for coaches to figure out how to do a really good job with, is managing those dynamics, as trying to figure out the first and third play.
But that's what we do. We paint that context for them so they can see that, right? Are we expected to like each other? No, you're expected to respect each other
Yeah.
and respect each other's differences. So you mean there's a place where I could say me and this guy don't like each other, but we're great teammates.
Yeah.
And when you can have that experience, you learn to appreciate something. It's like a working relationship, right? Because I think those
Yeah.
lines get crossed with people between personal and then working, and now you take your personal into the work, and now it's he said, she said bullshit, like
Yeah.
keep those lines separate, because I can tell you right now, I would guess Kat was never on the field to be people's friends first. And the
No.
social aspect of softball for a lot of young girls, especially when they start in rec ball, is for that bond with their teammates. But
Hmm.
Kat was a player, right? And
Yeah.
she was brought up, and I'll tell you, man, I saw her and Kira Garrow go at it for the 2000, was it 2000? In St. Louis, 1999 or 2000, and one of the greatest pitch games, them going at it. It was 104 degrees, 100% humidity. Kat had like this bubble on her elbow that was coming out, and just a lot of swelling stuff. She got it done. Like it was absolutely amazing. And then our Megan Willis got to go spend some time with her and catching at Texas,
Yeah.
and so that was
Great
fun to
friends.
watch that whole thing the whole
Yeah.
way.
She's super cool to coach with. Like I know how blessed I am to be in the dugout with her, and I know how blessed the players are to get to be coached by her. And it's more the wisdom and the shared experience part, which you and I don't get to share with our players, right? Like
Right.
we didn't play softball, we played
Yeah.
baseball. Like so I as much as we connect with them and we can try to say that it's the same, it's still not the same. And
Right.
so when someone like Kat pulls you aside and says, "Hey, you need to check yourself, and here's why," or "You need to play harder, and this is because of this," or "Man, you're one of the best I've ever seen," right? And this is why I say that, because you're doing these things, and or you're comparable to a player that I played with like this, right? Like I've seen her do that with players and show them the light about what it has to look like to be successful. Like she's really big with our pitchers about their commitment to enough time to be ready to play on the first pitch of the game.
Right.
Because
Right.
because today's athletes will go down there and say they'll throw 15, 20 pitches and say I'm warm. Cat took an hour and a half
Right.
before a game,
Right.
right? Like an incredible routine for her, and it was systematic, and so watching her share that with our players and try to, and they still struggle. She still struggles to convince them that you're not ready. Like you think you're ready.
Right.
About by the third inning, you're ready. But we needed that to happen before pitch one of the real game,
Right.
right? So it's cool watching that and seeing how that. And I think that that's one of the things that players coaches that played that come into our sport, they should really lean on is their shared experience, and not necessarily make it about X's and O's. I mean, not that they shouldn't learn X's and O's, but initially it should just be, I've been there. I can relate to what you're going through.
I think that there's a couple of really good points there, because we've seen a lot of times in the past where great players aren't great coaches, right?
Yeah.
And it's not because they don't have the knowledge or experience. That's why that's the value of them. It's their ability to communicate and relate to others, because again, when they're self-driven on the field and
Mm-hmm.
they're getting things done. Oh man, I saw is it called All the Smoke podcast with Matt
Yeah.
Barnes? And
Yep.
I watched one with Lawrence Taylor last night, and Lawrence Taylor, man, bro, that's great to watch him. He goes, I knew what everybody on the field was doing. I knew what the tackles were going to do. I knew the safeties. Everybody on the field, I knew what they were going to do. There was only one person I didn't know what they were going to do, and he goes, and that was me. He goes, because I needed to read and be able to be me. He goes, so I
Yep.
had to be me but fit within the construct of the defense. Like I couldn't just be me at that. He goes because then he goes I hurt my guys, right?
Yeah.
And that self-driven, self-focused of like, yeah, it's a we thing, but I am here to get a job done. So I could imagine too, like that's a really big accomplishment that a lot haven't checked off in just a few amount of short amount of years. And I would imagine and I'll get a chance to ask her sometime of how fulfilling it was. And I know she's talked to Holly a lot about this to put it all together and when you're natty last year. Because we all go through the deal of trying to develop your teams,
Hmm.
get them in the pocket, make the most out of what you have, and then get them dialed in to the last pitch of the last inning, right? And to it's really final, and that satisfaction of knowing, because I know the one thing that she had mentioned to Holly was just the command part of it, right? That
Yeah.
the command of your pitchers was there. And to anybody, how many frustrated coaches are out there because us, we call something, but it's not executed, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're shooting, you know, anti-aircraft or mortar fire somewhere, but you're not even close to the mark. Like, bro, how are we going to win this battle? You got to
Yeah.
hit the mark, right? So
Yeah.
that was really pretty cool because I think that should be noted that in just a few short amount
That's
of
where
years,
y'all's. That's where your range stuff. That's why it's focused on what it's
right?
focused about.
There you go.
That's why it's such a
And then
good.
to that point,
Yeah.
the other point is like when when players are taking lessons from great players and they're waiting for this experience and then the lessons about the lesson, right? The mechanics of the pitching or the hitting. I always tell the players, ask them questions. Okay. They don't think a good lesson is telling you what they threw in a 3-2 count against the best hitter they've ever faced. They're thinking they've got to teach you this. So ask them, what did they do in the
Yeah.
situation? Who was the toughest? Who is the best coach they ever played for? Extract this stuff because that's the stuff that's really going to help you, right? Who is the teammate that you got along the best, that you trusted? Who's the one that you didn't like, right? And ask these questions because you're like, okay, because at some point there's some really valuable intake from there from how they experience things, and a lot of them again weren't the most social people. I don't, for me personally, Scott, I'm not, I don't have a best friend, right? Like there's just certain things that are wired, but you, to that athlete now, you've got to find that balance with how you relate to people and really try to find a way to love people because that's, it's really fulfilling when you can.
Yeah. It's cool watching Kat with our pictures because she's like like Mama Bear to them. Like she doesn't even like me jumping on their ass. Like you can see it whenever I've had enough with something and I call timeout to go walk and she's pissed. Like she don't want me chewing their ass. Now I like it that I get to be that. So she doesn't have to be that. She gets to love on them when they come back in, have a different conversation. And I think that's her. That was a challenge a little bit for her and I to understand how to coach the first couple of years we were together, like I'm sure I pissed her off and she pissed me off. Like she'd yell at me and like it was funny. It was funny. There was a game. There was a game we were playing against Megan Grant. Okay. Kat didn't know who Megan Grant was. I knew who Megan Grant was, right? And I'm like, hey, and she played for that Warriors team. And I'm like, hey, there's one hitter on here that if we just stay clear of her, we're good. Like we're good. We're gonna be fine. Kid hit two. I was pissed because she hit 2 home runs. I kept challenging her, and and so for me, it was like I needed to understand that Kat's method for how she wanted to achieve her goals with the pitchers and everything else is one thing. She needed to learn that there's a moment where I have to achieve my goals as the head coach and what I want the overall to be, not just the pitchers, but what the overall to be is one thing. And we're so good at that together now. We weren't necessarily great at it together early because we were kind of going like this, right? And and that's full disclosure. We really weren't on the same page. Last year, we were absolutely on the same page, and it paid off. And I knew when to be tough on her pitchers. I knew when not to be tough because I was going to let her be tough on him or her love on him or whatever that was. And it was really cool for me to finally get a sense of how I was supposed to interact with her in her role. And I feel like, and she may disagree, but I don't think she would. I think she probably would say I kind of figure out this crazy dude that is coaching him, and I know what he's trying to achieve when he gets pissed or when he doesn't get pissed. Or she can look at me and say, "You're not being hard enough on him. Like you're letting him have a MLB warm up, and I don't want him to have an MLB warm up." Like those kind of things.
Right.
So it's really cool, and I think those dynamics for coaches in general, and trying to learn each other and how those things interconnect for success, it's important. I mean, it's important.
Relinquishing power and delegating and trusting when your hands are on all the buttons all the time. And that's really what it comes down to at the beginning of it, right? Like you're probably hyperactive in the sense that, okay, you were stopping it too much because, and she's like, let me, and she's got to figure out a way to say, let me do my job, right? I mean, I've
Yeah.
had multiple people have conversations with me
Hmm.
like that, right? Now you
Yeah.
see how much I pull myself off the field
Yeah.
because I could be in the dugout or on the field and not say anything, but there's still kind of a distracted presence there. And I really don't want that. Like if we're going to create autonomy, if we're going to have those commanding officers under us that win the battles on their own, right? And that's tough for coaches to learn because in the end, and it'd be the same way with her. Well, I could get this done, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, you've got to allow it to play out. So pretty fulfilling when you think about kind of that dynamic and the accessibility. And I do believe that there's going to be opportunities for more players who love the sport to make a living inside the sport,
Yeah.
to be able to take care of business and do what you love and not be at a $500 a month stipend, perpetually, but figure out how to make ends meet because the value of it was obvious there, Scott.
Well, and you bridge us into the conversation I want to have, and I want to talk about brand development, right? Because that's how we compensate these people that coach with us. Is there has to be revenue and those kind of things, and this is a business in a lot of ways. And I think we get criticized for people saying that softball shouldn't be a business and all those different things. But at the end of the day, I look at it from a perspective of I love that it's a business because it allows those customers, our people that we coach, those parents, to hold us accountable. And that's a really good thing to have is accountability. So I love that aspect of it. But I want to talk about the Firecracker brand. And I want to dive deep into that a little bit and kind of get some thoughts on because the firecracker brand's a thing, man. Like it's a thing. Your little firecracker dude, and the evolution of what. Take me through how the firecracker brand. There he is. There he is. Take me through how you did. Was there a plan, bro? Like was this mapped out? Like take me through. So tell me how it got to where it is, and then how it's going now. Like what the future looks
I
like.
had nothing to do with any of this success. I'm just the crazy guy. So it starts with Gary Wardine. Gary Wardine, Gary Wardine. Gary Wardine is the creator and the founder of the Firecrackers. He was the guy that I usually would say suckered me into this. I legitimately tried to turn him down quite a few times to coach. His story
Good thing
was
you
he
didn't.
was
Good thing you didn't do that.
bro. I'm going to tell you, the universe has protected me. The big man upstairs has protected me from screwing up my life numerous times. And as it seems right now, I was supposed to be doing this, but
Yes.
I tried numerous times to like screw everything up since I was a kid. So he was the one that started, and he had broken off another organization and reached out to me. And his story was this: his wife was doing embroidery, and he was looking at her embroider a blanket, and she was embroidering this little firecracker guy, and he like asked her, "What is that?" And she told him, and he goes, "That would be a really cool name for a team." And this guy right here, this is the first time he's ever had eyes. He's never had eyes. His eyes have been closed for 30 years. And so he came up with something that was unique. And so again, relatable to anyone out there. Number one is if you're creative or you just have a desire to start an organization, to create a brand, absolutely. Like absolutely. Scott and I will tell you a million times in these podcasts that if we can be where we're at, anybody can be where we're at. We are not
Yeah.
the poster boys for, well, I'll speak for myself, intelligence. It's really like there's a lot of unique circumstances. So yes, you can do it. And so he created something unique that allowed us to trademark it later. Right now, has that really been an issue? No, not really, except when someone wants to knock off a shirt that we understand they can have made for $5 at their local guy. But there's
Hmm.
this whole concept of like, well, what is a brand and brand integrity and things like
Yeah.
that. So it starts with Gary Wardine, and then so that's the shell, the little yellow guy. But inside the firecrackers are values from that lady I was talking about earlier, my mom.
Hmm.
Like the values, I knew right away when I saw all the dissension and kind of behavior that when you're around college and pro ball, you just see. We don't do that. Like we don't badmouth. We don't act a certain way at the park. We don't like, and so I saw a lot of that. So I knew that I had to find some ground that was going to keep me sane and not go back to that old behavior. And so the principles of the firecrackers are really principles that are available to anybody, right? So relationships and respect. Uh, honor, like I mentioned the time we spoke, was not about like never falling down. Honor is just a reminder to be honorable, to maybe think twice
Hmm.
before you say what you're going to say, or own what you just did that you wish you didn't do. Um, so that's basically it. And I knew the whole time that for me, I obsessed on the way we were going to play the game. I obsessed on the way our players were going to look in the way that they played the game, their attention to detail. We compete and try to win every game, but that was never it. Like, and so to that point that you had mentioned too about well, even the money aspect of it, the firecrackers didn't produce any income until 23 years into it.
Hmm.
So and that's not to tell people that look, don't get in this for money, but just it's like a batting average. Don't obsess and front your
Yeah.
money and how many teams do we have and how much are they paying and how much
Hmm.
is this. When I came up with our price, I'm a single parent, so I thought of disposable income. Like, what's a charge that would allow me to sustain something and be able to create support for people, be able to hire some people, but not so expensive, and certainly not think about, well, what are we worth, right? So you
Hmm.
got 300-400 million dollars of scholarships. Well, we're worth this, we're worth that, but you're
Yeah.
outpricing yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud to be part of that initial, call it a membership, whatever, to orgs, because we kind of set the
Hmm.
price of a gallon of milk.
Yeah.
And if you roughly just think like $25 a month to get into something, which is like half of a lesson, I think. So in
Yeah.
the end of the day, if somebody loses a job and they look at all the things that they're paying for and what they don't have, what they can't afford, I don't think that organizational structure should be the first thing off the table. You should create something minimal, and then, but most of all, create uh, for us a culture and experience. We talked about this on the first one that people want to be
Hmm.
part of. And if
Yeah.
you just think about that, then that takes us back to where we started with this podcast, that if you're 12 years old, where do you want to hang out? Whose yard do
Hmm.
you want to play in? Right? What games do you want to participate in? Where do you want to stay at and be told you have to go home versus, man, I want to get out of here. This is no fun. And
Yeah.
if you keep that premise, man, Scott, it becomes like very individual. But but that's really it with the firecrackers. The firecrackers, everything that expanded was as a result of people wanting to be part of it. We've never asked
Yeah.
a team to join. I've never marketed. We
Yeah.
don't say, hey, come be a firecracker. And there's nothing
Yep.
wrong with that. I just want people to see the power of a good backyard party, right? I keep using that analogy. But
Yeah.
that was it for me. And I can never tell the story without Gary Wardine because, I don't know what I'd be doing.
What's unique to similarities, I didn't start the Bombers.
Right,
Like, a lot of people think I did. I,
right.
I I didn't start the Bombers and had no intention of starting a travel ball program. That was not what I didn't set out to do that. And so when people ask me today about it, I'm like, dude, there was zero plan about what you see today. Is there was zero plan for, and it was organic, and it was more. We had some success over here, and you water it, and it grows, and now your acreage gets bigger, and you figure out how to manage that, and it's productive, and it grows some more, and so
Did you
it was
know right away
never.
what you wanted to stand for? Or did that take a little time to
No,
you
I
learn?
think I knew what I wanted to stand for, and I was going to be naturally kind of gravitate into what I did. Um, it's funny when people hear the word bombers, you've never seen a logo where we have an actual bomb in it, right? Like that, we've never been that, or bomber planes or anything.
Right.
So people naturally equated the military in from me being in the military for 28 years to that's why it's called the Bombers, and it should have this military. No, that not you've never seen us have a plane. You've never seen us about the bomb. Not that I have any problem with any of those things. Heck, in fact, I like both of them. But
Right.
That was not what we were about. Um, the guy that named the bombers was a guy named Mike Reimer, and he passed away, and I miss him a lot. Um, because he was actually my ag teacher growing up. And you talk about somebody used to whip my ass. He used to just whip my ass because it was fun. Like he freaking big ass paddle with holes in it. And I mean, he beat the piss out of me. But I loved hanging out with him. Um, but he named him because he was like, I want to be known for us hitting bombs. And I was like, okay, well then that makes sense. And that's what we're going to hang our hat on. And we have always we've hung our hat on hitting home runs, but that was what it was about. It was never about the icon of a bomb or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
And so the natural tendency for us was toughness, is it was going to be about being tough. And so in one of our alt logos, it says game proven and battle tested. And that's the mantra that we hang our hat on, is you're going to be game proven and you're going to be battle tested. And whatever that is for you, whatever that becomes, life, if it becomes college softball, if it becomes you become a mom, you're game proven and you're battle tested. And that's kind of the thing. And
Right.
so yeah, that's kind of more what it's about.
Where what besides softball, what did you enjoy developing within the brand? Right. So obviously there's us on the field and developing
Yeah.
teams, but all the other
Hmm.
things that go into brand development, I guess
Yeah.
you could call it that now, but what have you really enjoyed as far as developing the brand in other areas?
I think it's our uniforms, as much as anything, because that sets the tone for our merchandise, and it sets the tone for all the things that we shape around the. It's always been the center point for us. Is And I got that a little bit from you. Like, you're really big on. I remember us talking about pants one day, and you were like, they need to make
Don't get me
a
wrong.
young lady look like a young lady, not like a a boy playing, girl softball. Like, it just needs to be very well fitted for them in the way that it accentuates the way a young lady should look, and not big baggy pants because they're baseball pants or something.
Right, right.
And I remember you telling me that, and that it's ironic, the timing of Oregon football coming out with all of their alt uniforms was about the time that we were kind of establishing an identity of a bike. Like, and I was like, because look, there's only so much you can do with black and white.
Right.
Like, and initially it was more of a Penn State look for us.
So
Very
tell me
simple.
where Black Star came in.
So Black Star is funny, man, because they're a great company. They're our uniform
Hmm.
provider.
Hmm.
The gentleman that owns it, his name is Brent Price,
Hmm.
and he and I were friends for a long time. I coached his daughter,
Hmm.
and he had an eye for helping me design the uniforms. And we were using another company, and I can't tell how many companies we went through trying to get to be able to satisfy our uniform issue. And the challenges that come
Hmm.
with travel, sports, and uniforms. They're always adding players. There's always new players coming into the mix, and inevitably, it's always right after you order a set of uniforms,
Right.
you have a new player, and so that, like, the dynamics of that, and there was a time and day we would order extra uniforms, and hey, well, you're just it's number 11. You're going to be number 11 now. Here you go. I don't want to be number 11. Like, I want to be number 6, and there's no number 6. Why can't I be number 6? Because I don't have a number 6 uniform. Here you go. It's your
Classic.
number.
Right.
Yeah, that's how it all was done. And so Brent and I went through he was with me. He was working, doing his thing, and he worked for a company that allowed him to have a lot of communication during the day. And we'd talk, and he would meet with me over at our uniform person, which was in San Antonio, a different company, and um, he'd help me try doing it. And finally, it got to a point where, like, bro, no one can do this. He goes, you know what I think I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna invest some money and start a uniform company. And he was like, if I do it, will you give me? Can I do your business? Like, and I'm like, bro, if you can. Now I was honest. I was like, hey, listen, the Bombers, like, you can't mess this up. Like, you got to get this right, bro.
Right. Right.
And so basically, we were his first customer, um, and we were probably at the time about 30 teams worth of business.
But
And
together you created a unique look that is bombers, and it is great. And that synergy I mean, would you sit there with them and watch them
Yeah,
draw it up on the computer and a little more of this and a little less of this and
yeah,
let's put two stripes down the back now and let's see what that looks like
yeah.
and right?
That's the cool part.
That's what I love.
I was doing that yesterday with our graphic designer, that gentleman named Oscar that works for Black Star. And a lot of people think I'm part owner, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm not. There was some design. There was some conversations about me being part of that
Hmm.
in the very beginning, and I really felt like, hey, I'm going to do business with you. I think it might be a little more of a conflict of interest. I'd rather you have that business, you do that. I'll run the Bombers and I'll be one of your best customers. And so he's treated us really well. They're an incredible company.
Great guy.
And yeah, no, he does a great job. And so yeah, we're part
Something's
of the.
happening because I used to see him courtside at basketball games all the
Oh,
time. So it's
he
like
lives courtside. He lives
living that
courtside
life.
for the Spurs, man. Yeah, hey, he don't take me enough. I can tell you that. For being his biggest and best customer, I should go to a few more Spurs
Well,
games. But
hey,
yeah,
live it up, Brett. So I wanted to give him a shout out though, because what you guys have done to create that unique style. And again, how does that relate to others? Don't be constricted by the confines of tradition, right? Like think outside the box, right? Like think of what you would want, what you want to experience, because there's so many different aspects that you could get into. And then the things that you're not good at, I mean, you got to start finding your support system, right? So if you're admin oriented and you're very structure oriented, but you don't have that front person, that lead singer, keep your eye out for one, right?
yeah,
And if you're that lead singer, don't fool yourself that you're going to have 15,000 emails or whatever it is. Get your support
yeah.
system around it and really start to supplement and start to acknowledge and appreciate. And appreciation, it's funny because,
You got to get you a Robin. You got to
well,
get you a Robin
well,
or a
and the
Bo.
whole staff of
Yeah,
Superwomen, because they're all different, they
yeah,
all have
hmm
strengths, they all have challenges, right?
yeah,
But I like I tell guys, listen, when you go off and you start your own brand, these guys that are encouraging you to do it right now, that for whatever reason, right? Just go do it on your own. They're going to want to be your number two man, and they're going to expect a little something, at some point too. So it's just not about you. You're going to be taking care of people. You're not going to be able to meet all the needs of everyone that you care about and need, but little by little, you can create an actual company, and
yeah,
that's what I'm proud of. Is you're talking about not thinking you're going to be a softball coach. I would have denied it. If I was 25 years old, you told me this was going to be my life, I'd say, no, dude, I ain't going to be a
yeah.
softball
It's
guy
not
when I'm
possible.
60.
Yeah,
Shoot me in the head. I'm done. And I would do this 5 times over, right? To have an opportunity to do anything else. And I think a part of that, Scotty, is because it's uh, there's so much frontier land,
hmm
right? That it's wide open space to develop, and then kind of the relationships that we develop. And it's a little bit like with the game as well too, and with the teams. It's like, look, here's what we expect to happen, here's what we're prepared to make happen, but we don't know what's going to happen. We're just
yeah,
going to go for this. Like
yeah.
we're just going to go for this, right? And so a lot goes
Yeah, and
into it.
I think it's interesting how often our industry, if you want to call the travel ball an industry, right, gets negative, negative feedback towards it and those kind of things. And I watch, and I know you're the same way. I watch on a weekly basis the relationships being built by teammates and coaches and families and some of the stuff we talked about, the connections, and how many weddings you've been to, and how many times weddings, like seeing them have children, and like certainly in any industry, in any business, you could challenge it and say, well, that could be better, or that sucks, or this. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I'll argue with anybody that wants to. I'll debate anybody that tries to tell me that the benefits of what these young ladies, the young people that are involved in this, get to take part in from a growth standpoint, like growing up. I'll challenge anybody that tries to tell me that's not good. Like it's incredible watching them become incredible young ladies. Like I'm watching, and you've had way more than I have that have graduated and they're starting their own businesses and they're doing all. And that there's a part of their success in them what they're achieving right now that you can relate all the way back to that process coming through.
And none of them that were playing for us 25 years ago talk about how we taught them how to stay inside a chainsaw.
No, no.
It's always the bigger picture. Scott, I've got players in our org now that I gave lessons to their mom, and I'm like, oh damn, dude, I'm that age now. Like, oh man, and mom will look at me and go, "Do you remember me?" And that's like the worst question to ever ask you, right? Like, because your
Oh
files
yeah,
just start going, but then
yeah,
when you find their face and you're like, your dad did this. They go like, yeah. And how do I remember
yeah.
that from like 2001, but I
Yes,
can't remember where I put my shoes yesterday. Like that's just a weird component of this.
it's crazy.
But it's all the people that we meet. And it's been pretty
See,
crazy.
see, you've got some players. So we're talking about the Firecracker brand and stuff, but you've got some players that have come through y'all system. Obviously, went into college, created a whole nother level of their name, and now are in the professional world of brand creation for themselves. And you've got some notable people like Sis Bates, like Lauren Chamberlain, like those kind, and there's probably many more, but those two jump out off. Talk about how satisfying it is for you to see that happening for them, and what that's, and have they reached out to you in this process and talked about that process for them and how to, asking for advice, or what's that look like for some of those guys?
Yeah. Well, I couldn't be more happy for them, right? Because they were, I think of like, the 1980s ball players that were the top of the game and what they made back then, and
Yeah,
to see what
yeah,
players make now, and to not be
yeah,
bitter about it because what the
yeah.
players have right now is because of all of these players going back 30, 40 years. It's just, it's been the slow progression and growth of the game. So it's actually been pretty cool to watch. I'm like a dad figure that is always there for them, but I'm really not. Like I always tell the kids, and it might sound a little brutal. It's like, look, our time together is going to be when you're with our team.
Hmm.
More likely than not, we're not going to see each other a whole lot afterwards. I will always be here, and I
Yeah,
will always love you. And if you ever need anything, please know that I'm always going to be here. But
right.
I'm not going to reach out and check on you, and I'm not going to. So for the most part, like I get calls and I get little notes and stuff.
Yeah,
But I'm really proud of what they've done, and I think, Scott, like I'm really proud of the fact that we've always concentrated on behavior, posture, being well spoken, handshakes,
hmm,
being presentable, understanding what you're projecting in public. Because again, remember those that after a tough game, you don't feel like signing balls, right? You're
yeah,
pretty pissed off. And the behavior that a lot of people learn in travel ball is just get the hell out of there and leave. And so I've really been proud of the fact that we practice autographs. It's fun to get players and have them sign their name, not knowing what they're doing.
yeah,
Watch them take 10 seconds to do it, and then start. We love that part of it because it's like playing house. It's playing kind of public persona, and then to see which ones go on and do it right now.
yeah,
And right now, Sean, his players are killing it right now, and that's been again another level of satisfaction to give someone a platform to develop their players and have Sean's players have the success that they have, and now
yeah,
they're enjoying some of those benefits. So it's a really really cool thing, and the opportunities are just going to be more and more plentiful. You know,
yeah.
uh,
NIL, everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think through perspective, like I said, you could, there was the wild, wild west. It's pretty crazy. And out of the wild west came the west, which is pretty
yeah,
awesome. So we're still in wild, wild west days. And I always think
yeah.
there's still a lot of, how come we don't have, how come they have this? There's nothing here, but it's all opportunity. So with
Hmm.
that perspective, you can really build into a lot of really, really cool things. So I'm exciting. It's exciting to see. And you talked about the image. There's only a few teams that could tighten up the uniforms a little bit in college. Most of those D1 schools, it's looking pretty
It's
good,
clean.
and
Yeah,
I'm
it's
really
clean.
proud of how it's come along. The routines, right? The routines, pitching, hitting, they're starting to mirror what you see major league hitters do.
Hmm.
Um, again, brand for me is also entertainment. It's
Yeah,
not just the sport itself, right? So if you look at WWE, you look at the bludgeoning UFC, but the branding, there are as many women that go to UFC events, and they're
yeah,
there because of the entertainment of the brand. And then they
yeah,
actually, yeah, get excited from the hype of a fight, but they're not close enough to see up close what's happening to that guy unless they watch the big screen. So I think that's something that's important for people to understand too, and have fun with it. I mean, art director Reagan and Juliana, they roll their eyes at me when I say, "Can we do a foam squishy guy?" And half of the time they go no. I go, "Come on, let's just do it. Like let's just do this. This my last two have been this guy and firecracker shot glasses, which I'll be sure to send you one.
You did no. You should send me one. You sent me a picture of you sitting on the during Super Bowl.
That's, we didn't get them in time for Christmas, but I was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
but let's just say we put those things to use.
I got to tell you a quick, funny, quick story about Sis that sticks out to me. I had a chance to coach Sis. I coached,
Yeah.
helped coach that team that helped kind of play against the Olympic team prior to going to the last Olympics. And Sis was on that team that played against them. And we were playing in Texas. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget standing there. We were at pregame, and kids were lined up trying to lean over to get her to sign. And the ushers and different people were trying to stop these kids from leaning into the dugout and stuff. And all these kids are screaming her name. And I'm not exaggerating when I say there were 300 kids lined up yelling her name. And I walked up to her. I said, "What's it feel like?" And she's like, "What do you mean, coach?" I go, "What's it feel like that every one of those kids wants to be you?" And she just smiled. And I said, "Because that's what that is. That's what you've done.
Well,
That's
and
just
that
cool."
story, and I think this is an important point too, because when you're known for what you do, okay, that gives you the notoriety. But I really encourage our kids and our players to tell an organic story of either who they are, where they come from, what they're passionate about, what the hardships they've been through, because those are the relatable things, right? And Sis's personal story is like blue collar,
Yeah.
hard work, sacrifice, not a lot of luxury, living. And so to watch a kid, come from a humble background that a lot of people have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to see her do that, to watch her be able to have a platform to express herself, to see Heather Tarr embrace that with her and with Taylor Van Zee over there, the way they played
Yeah.
on the left side of the field, and to allow that to be cultivated inside Washington, and then continue. Man, it doesn't get any better than that, bro. Because to
That's
know the beginning
I
and the sacrifice of her dad, like John's just a great man. She's got the greatest dad in the whole world, and that's a big part of their story, right? You have to have that support.
You heard me say this 1,000 times. One of the best left sides I've ever played against. It
Yeah.
was nasty. Taylor Van Zee and Sis Bates.
But a big part
Sheesh.
of that I didn't appreciate coming from the baseball world, where you got to keep everything low key, right? Don't be too loud, don't be too rah rah. Is no, man, that energy, that celebrating a pitch, that
Mm-hmm.
I guess dancing at second base after a double, like that's
Yeah.
softball. Like that
Yeah.
is softball. That's what these women do. Okay, the other thing is the how you give outs now.
Yes. Yeah. That whole thing. Yeah.
Can you
I
imagine?
don't know
Like,
how they remember.
what the?
I don't know how they remember all that shit. Like I forget what am I supposed to do when I look at you? Like I don't even know how they remember that.
The thing
But you
is,
watch them, it's the same every time.
well, I think we need to talk about that more as guy coaches, because it's like, oh, good, we got an out. Now we can dance. So the more outs you get, the more dances you guys can do. So let's just get
Yeah.
outs. Like, let's just get lots
Get
of
as
outs.
many
Like,
outs as you want.
yeah,
Dance as much as you want out
just
there.
don't be dancing after you make it out.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, I want us to talk just a short amount of time, but I want to get some perspective from you. Like, there's a lot of challenges in coaching, right? One of our coaches reposted something on social media yesterday or today, and it was talking about the challenges of being a head coach and all that comes with it, being away from home and your family, missing things. But one of the and so it made me think about this, and I wanted to ask you this question: how big a challenge was it for you being a single parent coaching?
Ooh.
Like you talk about being a single parent, and you're gone a lot, and I know you had a son, so it wasn't like he was in the dugout with you playing. Like you were coaching him. Like he had a whole set of other things that were going on in his life that you had to continue to work to try to be part of. And I'm sure there are coaches out there that struggle with that same challenge. Well, how hard was that?
Yeah, I think of the Donnie Hagbergs and some of the other single dad coaches that I know, because there's not many of us. I relate more to single moms than single dads because of the relatable
Well, there's
stories.
some of them out there too that are single moms
Well,
coaching
and it's
this right
just,
now.
and
Yeah.
again, so it's probably the only time I've ever been scared in my life. I became a single parent when my son was 4, and then I raised him and his half brother, who was 8 at the time, and that was that was a responsibility that I felt I needed to fulfill. But I remember clearly the night that it happened. it was probably 2 in the morning, and I was sitting by myself, and my own voice was saying to me, "Hey, Mister Know It All, Mister You can do anything. You're talking about raising two kids now. You fuck this up, and you're fucking up two kids,
Yeah.
right?" And that was the first time that I've ever felt, "Don't fuck this up," because I really don't feel, I don't, that doesn't process in
Yeah.
my mind like that. But then again, what did I do? I just applied the example I had for my mom. There was no single dad parent example except for Courtship of Eddie's Father was a show that, think about that, it was a single parent dad TV show in the 70s, but that wasn't much of anything to learn from. I just applied my values, and something was going to sacrifice. I'm always going to be there for my kids. I knew that I didn't want to leave my kids, so my dad helped me build that cage in my backyard. I was
Hmm.
renting a house from my cousins, and so I was able to now watch my kids inside the house while I was making money to pay for the lights, and
Yeah.
until I was 48 years old, Scott, it was month to month. It was paying
Yeah.
bills on the last day of the month, just like a lot of people. I know the notoriety and the perception that people have with when things expanded, and that was, there was some guilt with that, right? Becoming a have when most of the people I know and come from are have-nots,
Hmm.
but it was a challenge. So a lot of time on the road with me. He got to know every team. So he's the one that ended up sacrificing, and
Yeah.
then my oldest son moved out and started doing things on his own. But then my youngest son John started training in jujitsu when he was 19. So after traveling with me all the time, he's 33 now, and he's a black belt. He teaches jujitsu, and it all worked out on the back end of it. But I do think that he got a certain type of life education. And one thing I would tell you real quick is one day we were driving home, and it was at the end of the year wrap up, right? Say goodbye to your seniors. And I never really
Hmm.
thought how many times he saw that. And he looked at me and he goes, "Dad, I got a question for you." I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Does everyone have to leave when they're 18?" And bro, the first thing I thought of was like my dad being drafted when he was 18, right? That he had to leave like that,
Hmm.
And I just said,
Yeah.
"John, whatever is supposed to happen." But I realized he had saw all these girls that were close to him every year, right? They hug him, they scratch his back, they take care of him, and then gone. And he
Yeah.
also kind of had that with his mom. So I thought, oh shit, I'm repeating the same cycle to him
Every
year
year.
after year after year.
Yeah.
These women come
Yeah.
in and they go out, and these women, and I was like, holy cow. I'll be honest with you, Scott, like a deeper conversation, but that's had an effect on both of us.
Yeah.
Uh, but rewarding experience. If you talk about my ride or die, my youngest son has been by me every step of the way, every second, all of this. If there's anyone that deserves the benefits of everything we've done, it's him, because he's been real patient and he's got his own life going now. And parenting is the scariest thing in the world. We all know that. Scary as hell.
Here's a question about him. Does he ever take your ass out back and just beat the shit out of you and like put you in a Gracie pretzel hold? You don't
Hey, so
challenge
so when he when
the
he started,
jujitsu and black belt
listen,
jujitsu guy
and
very
us
often, do you?
old guys, right? We're like, we can still. Look,
Ah, shit, you
uh,
don't look dumb to me.
so
I don't think you're jacking with him.
when he first started, you kind of, you do the, and you kind of lean on it, and then
Yeah,
I don't know when it happened, but then all of a sudden it's like trying to move a cement wall, because they call it wrestler heavy, right? When wrestlers know how to be heavy,
yeah,
and then there was no more of that,
yeah.
and now he just looks at me calmly, like, because that's the great thing about like this type of martial art is it's like the Islander Samoan guys. They're the strongest guys at the park, but they shake your hand extremely soft. They're not here to be strong, right?
Yeah.
And the jujitsu guys are not here to be tough, right? That's
Hmm.
not them at all. So the calm assurance that they have, but the look that they can give you. And so if I ask John, like, how long would it take you to put a guy a foot taller than you to sleep that has 70 pounds on you? And he goes, "Trained or untrained?" And I said, "Okay, untrained." And he looks down and he goes, "I'm in it." And I was like, it's that. And I want I want our daughters, I don't have any daughters. I want our kids, our players, to have that same confidence.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
like, bro, I, I really like you on the first day of my college freshman year, and you might be my future husband, but you ain't gonna know it tonight. And you ain't gonna know it anytime soon.
Hmm.
Like, this is
Yeah.
gonna be a process, because even that
Yeah.
kind of patient stuff is important to roll out, and it's a slow simmer.
Yeah.
But no, he won't. I'm not that stupid, man.
I
And
can
that's the
see
joke
him.
about nowadays with people that train in the arts,
Yeah.
right? In the old days, you're just gonna throw down. Now you don't know who's got what kind of belt, and That's
And
not
you
that's
ain't
not
challenging that dude. He'll put you in a Gracie pretzel hold and get you screaming and tapping out.
But that's what's great about that is it's
Yeah.
all built on grabbing and getting on the ground, and where fights kind of get real. So that's why I love
Yeah.
mixed martial arts, though, because there's so many disciplines in it that if you're
Hmm.
weak in one, you lose. Put a
Yeah.
wrestler on their back if they're not trained in jujitsu. So I won't go on and on about that, but that's kind of, yeah, single parenthood. It's been interesting, very fulfilling, ups and downs. We're both very, very lucky, and my oldest son, I'm very, very proud of both the boys for what they allowed me to do, and then hopefully I just do my best to try not to screw too many things up.
You ain't screwed it up. I'm proud of you, bro. I know the schedule, the life you live. I live it, and it's not. I can't. I think it would. I'm trying to wrap my head around if I had been a single parent trying to pull that off.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Well, so
This
probably for
is.
15 years too, was my therapy was playing music with my nephew. So after we'd finished from the last game, then I would go drop them off at either my mom's or my stepson's, his dad's, and then I would go and I'd play at a bar or somewhere with my nephews, and then I get home, go pick them up at 1:30 in the morning, right? Or sometimes leaving. So the weekends for me, for probably the year 2000 to 2013, 14, were ridiculously long. And then back up, getting home from a club at two o'clock in
Hmm.
the morning, then back on the field at 6:30 the next morning. I was young enough to do it back then,
Yeah.
but I was
Yeah.
hardened. But come on, man, sports and music.
That's
Give me
it.
a break.
Two good things.
Yeah, could be working for a living.
That's it. That's it. All right. So let's talk. We're getting in there. It's time to talk about some games.
Let's do it. Last
So
week or coming up? Let's do some last week. Got anything on last week?
you know what,
Florida, and Texas A&M, bro. Come on.
man? Florida stepped on the gas in there after that first game, and they stepped on the gas a little bit. I think there were moments I didn't get to watch as much of it as I watched game one. I got to see game three. I didn't get, but I saw highlights of game two and stuff, and it just looked like there were moments, missed opportunities by A&M, and some capitalized opportunities by Florida, and those are the kind of things you can't make mistakes and miss out on opportunities for a team as good as Florida. And that's what it looked
How
like. Got
about Friday? Barbara taking second on the blue pit
no
that
reason to even go there.
forced the throw that gets thrown
Yes.
away and they win. And if you noticed, bro, I think she was safe. Like it wasn't like she was hosed. Like she got down that base pretty quick and created a and
It's
game over.
it's so it's so funny. My wife and I were watching that game, and I'm like, I turn into coach. I'm like, do you have no reason even to get to second? What do you know how lucky it was that happened? Like her run doesn't mean anything. She actually almost messed this up, and it turned out that it worked out good. That, that's softball. That's softball.
Well, that's 12 and under softball base running right there. That's how you win 12 and under nationals, man. You spin
That's
it.
when you're the first base coach
You
going,
just spin it.
no.
Guys like this, just spin it, go run, just keep running.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a
No, it
great
was.
series, and the thing for me is Kennedy just reaches back and just blows gas, and watching Trish call pitches. So the inside half that we were talking about this like last time, right? And just
Hmm.
going, and now you've got like Shoemaker, Erickson, Reagan, like Walsh, like Mike's three assassins in the middle of that lineup. Like those matchups, bro. Like that's like watching heavyweight fights like Frazier and Ali. I can't get enough
Yeah,
of that stuff to watch every bit of the game's personship, that's taking
yeah.
place in those moments. I just thought it was an
It
awesome
was
series. I just
good.
go back and
Yeah,
watch the replays on ESPN, but man, that was good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It was good. It was good. So
What you got for
this,
this week?
so this week, I just have a few games for today and tomorrow. I didn't get a chance to look into Sundays. We'll talk about some that are today and tomorrow. Today, Oklahoma versus Arkansas. Oklahoma's 23-0, and they're the number one ranked team in the country right now. Again, they're back at the top spot. Um, and Arkansas is 20-3, and they got kind of beat on a little bit by Ole Miss. Ole Miss went in and took 2 out of 3 from them. So number 1 versus number 15. What do you think happens in that? Do you think Arkansas bounces back and steals a game or two? Is this where Oklahoma finally
That's
gets?
that's going to start happening at some point. Like
Yeah,
law of averages, not
yeah,
that's not about Oklahoma. That's law of averages of being in this conference, right?
yeah,
And I know that I believe Oklahoma's getting their pitcher Landry back, but still 3-game series, and our coach is really going out to really try to win all three. It's going to be interesting. I love
So here's
Courtney.
my
I love my guy
here's my
DJ.
question to you:
Hmm.
does Oklahoma drop a game in this series? That's a
I
better way
think
to
so.
ask the question. You
I think
think
so.
that they finally lose a
Because
conference
I
game?
don't at this point it's not the machine. Everyone knows that, but it's
Hmm.
proving itself, right? So the obvious
Yeah,
test on that is
they're
like, hey,
good.
you're not. They all know that. They all are being told who they're not, and they
Yeah,
continue. I mean, come on, 3-1 run games against South Carolina. South Carolina goes in 18-0, and then loses the three, and then loses to Coastal Carolina, I think,
yeah,
this week. So they
yeah.
dropped four. So they got Oklahoma traumatized a little bit on that or something because those are three close games too.
No, yeah. Well, that's remember we talked about that. Like sometimes your gas tank gets holes punched in it.
Yeah.
You know,
So
you
I'm gonna
don't
go with
realize it.
Oklahoma, but Courtney's my girl, DJ's my guy. Like I love Arkansas, everything they do,
I
what
think they
Courtney
get a
did
game.
to
I
try
think
to
they
turn
get a
that,
game.
and they should get a game for
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
I do too. All right, here's one for you. Oregon versus Washington. Oregon's ranked eighth in their top 10, man. Like they're that's cool that they're, and this is probably in the past has been flipped where Washington's been the one that's in the top 10. So Oregon's in the top 10. Oregon's record is 24-2.
Go
Yep.
Missy, Sam.
Yeah.
Good
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah, Washington is 20-7. I think this is at Washington. What do you think happens in this series?
That's good for Washington because they lost their ace, so to not
Hmm.
be going too far backwards. Again, I'll always disclaimer, right? Like I always think of these coaches if they might hear or be watching. So love all these coaches. I
Yeah,
think right
for
now I'm really
sure.
happy for Oregon. I'm really happy, that Missy's towed the line for the few years she's had this program. Sam Marters, I'm one of her biggest fans. She's got a really good coaching staff. I'm gonna go with Oregon. I don't know enough about the pitching, so
And it's always
I
hard
will
to. It's
say
always
so. Chance
hard.
to go three. It's more likely a 2-1 Oregon, but I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's at Washington. Washington's getting one of these three games. If I just purely on rankings, everything else, I think this is a 2-1 series win for
And
Oregon.
I
But
don't
I
know the
think
depth
it's
of Oregon pitching. I'm sure she's got an ace that's getting her there, right? And then she may have two. And when Missy's pitchers are dialed in, we know back from the days of Oklahoma, she calls pitches as good as she calls as good a game as anyone. So
it's tough.
yeah.
Yeah. The last one for today that we'll talk about on the Friday slate. This is two teams that are both 20-4, and you mentioned one of them already. And this team being ranked in the top 10 is to me a little surprising, but I guess not. If you just talk about how hard they played Oklahoma, but South Carolina versus Georgia. One South Carolina's ranked ninth, Georgia's ranked 13th. They're both 20-4, and I think this is at South Carolina. I think this is going to be a battle.
What's Georgia? Where are they ranked?
They're ranked 13th.
So Georgia coaching against what's happening at South Carolina. I do not think that it's more likely than not that South Carolina is going to just continue this downward spiral. At some point, they're going to recover after
Mm-hmm.
what happened this last week. I'm going to go 2-1 South Carolina, and man, and the coaching level of Tony and JT over there is just that's another level.
See, I actually think it's going to be the other way around. I think
Yeah.
Georgia goes in and takes two out of three.
Okay.
I just there's something about the way I think Georgia takes conference play. I think that this is a new staff at South Carolina. The staff came over from Charlotte. Not that they're not good. I'm just saying,
Right,
like
right, right.
that from an experience standpoint in that conference and the way that we talk about the SEC. I don't know. There's a part of me that if I just had to go to Vegas and lay a bet down, I think they're both great teams, both well coached. I think I would probably say Georgia takes two or three of this, but one of us will be right on this one.
Might be safe to say that if South Carolina loses 2 or 3, that they pretty much might have shot their wad early in the season. At
They
least
could
that would
have.
be the easy thing to say with them, right?
Yeah,
Last week, by the way, I was 2-1.
you
I
were.
don't know what you were, and then
Yeah, you know what? We got to keep track of that.
yeah,
We got to keep track.
I think I
So
missed the
right
third one.
now, let's just mark this down. We both are saying OU's going to get 2 out of 3,
Hmm.
right? They're
I'm
going to
gonna
get
go with
2,
Oregon, win the
and you're
series.
taking Oregon in a sweep.
Don't know
Or
about
did you
laying my
say
money.
two
They'll
one?
take the series. I just wouldn't be surprised if they have the pitching depth. But again, in all fairness, I don't know the personnel of Washington as much as I
We're
do.
we're both in agreement on both those. We're both choosing that Oregon takes the series, but Washington gets they're at home. They're going to win a game, and they're good, so they're going to win a game. And I'm saying Georgia on this one, and you're saying South Carolina wins the series. So that's
Now,
good.
if I a personal favorite would be Georgia, but I'm more
No, I
going
got you.
more going on a hunch on that one.
I got you.
What
All right.
about
So,
any other SEC? There's got to be another good SEC matchup.
well, there is, and it's Saturday, and that's the one we were going to talk a little about. Texas versus Florida at Florida. One team is 26-1. One team is 27-2. Number two versus number three. That's a battle. Yeah, that's a battle. I don't even know how you pick it.
Both my boys. I'm going to go by preponderance of the evidence slightly because the home field and the middle of that damn lineup and Falvey just being a gamer. I'm going to go Florida on that, but barely by a smidge. I've seen them play more than Texas this year.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to tell you what worries me about Texas going in there is who they played against last week. They went up to Ohio State, played in a tournament. Like where Florida got the chance to go on the road and play A&M in a big environment, completely sold out. I just feel like maybe Florida is got an advantage, seeing a little different look the week going in. Now, is Texas good enough to go in there and win it? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely they are. So, man, I don't know. Jeez, I
So what
got
are they
kids
playing?
on.
Are they doing Saturday, Sunday, Monday?
Yeah, they're doing Saturday, Sunday, Monday. The other Monday night game. I got kids on both those teams, man. I don't.
Yeah.
I think I have to abstain, but because I think
Get the
both
fuck
of
out of
them.
here. Let's go. Make a pick. Hey, I've started everyone by hey, both of these coaches are my people, right? Because like I can't not pick because of that. Because
Yeah,
holy
no,
cow.
like the coaches, they're adults. They understand. They figure it out. They know. It's the players, man. As soon as I make this thing, they're gonna be calling me coach. What you
Okay, but
mean?
here's what it comes down to. This isn't like, who you buying the better birthday gift for. You got $20 where you laying it on the series. This is nothing personal.
I'm betting A&M over Auburn.
Okay, you
I
just
tell,
you just pussed out right there.
I think somebody in orange is gonna win.
What the fuck, Scotty? Wow.
All right,
Hey,
look, I'll take Texas. Listen, I'll take Texas so that
you're
we
gonna hear that.
have. Yeah, no doubt. I'm gonna be getting calls from them.
You're gonna get a call from Van Brakel. She's gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, well, it's going to be all my players that are going to Florida or the ones that are there that are going to be calling me. But I'm going to take Texas so that we have something to compare. It'll
All right.
put us even. Like, so one of us is going to be right. Ain't going to shock me at all if Florida wins. Like, it's just not.
Well, and either way, I mean, we're splitting that, but that's the beauty of this level is the margin for error, small margin for
Yeah,
error, and how that can dictate
yeah.
one way or the
They're
other.
they're both so loaded with talent that I think it's really going to come down to maybe who can figure out a way to pitch it the best. Because I think offensively they're both really, really very equal. Both ton of
So
speed,
minimizing
power.
mistakes, right? And then the
Yeah,
speed comes in, like we talked about with the slap stuff last week, that you're just putting the ball in play to create chaos.
yeah,
Chaos won the game for Texas A&M. Good decision or not good decision. I mean, so chaos comes into
yeah,
play and puts pressure on defense. I know last year Florida ranked really really high in team defense, and Texas at one point wasn't. I haven't checked this year so far on the numbers,
I
so
think
could be
I've
interesting.
seen a ton of Texas's games, and they're playing really, really, really good defense. They're pitching it really well.
They're
The
very
thing is,
athletic. We know that, extremely
yeah,
athletic.
the challenge I think is going to be the fact that this is at Florida. Now, Texas went in and played Florida last year and mollywop Florida, like 10-0 or
Mhm.
something. But this ain't the same team, the same Florida team.
Yeah.
So it's just I think it's going to be, man, whoever can go out there and stay away from trouble in the circle. If
Yeah.
you can stay out of trouble, I think you probably got a shot to win this. If you get in trouble and you get into your pen too fast and those kind of things, I think it could be a problem.
You know how you like if you're watching a fight or something and you don't even want to like turn your head because when you turn your
Yeah.
head and you hear
You might miss the
you turn your
knockout. Yeah.
so these are
Yeah.
these types of games, man. Like don't
That's
blink
this.
because
Yes.
that could
Yeah.
really kind of work.
And both teams are so well coached. Like the level of preparation that probably both teams went into it's going to be super competitive.
Yeah.
It's going to be a battle.
You know, and if Mike White gets a little heated, goes and talks to an umpire, that's always fun entertainment to watch too.
Yeah. Yeah, or you get chunk the finger at him like he did again at Hall
Or
of Fame.
Singleton coming out of the dugout and giving him
Oh,
high five before they hit home plate.
yeah, sing, man.
Hey, it's
Like
entertainment.
Seriously, like from a hitting coach perspective, like he's about as good as there is out there. Like it's like what he's been able to do with that Texas offense, and there's so many other good ones out there. To me, I think is the secret. So you start looking at the best teams in the country. Look at their hitting coach.
Yeah.
Like look at their hitting coach, right? Like JT. You start looking at what Sing's done. Like you just start looking at that. There's a direct correlation to getting teams ready to hit
Put that
at
on
that
the
level.
list for next podcast that we talk about some college offenses and kind of what's done. And because I think you could give some great insight to some of that stuff. So let me swing. Got any more games?
No, the A&M Auburn. A&M Auburn is another
A&M.
game. Yeah, I do too. I think they bounce back on the road. But Auburn's playing really well too, man.
I haven't seen him play enough. So
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, 10 seconds only. Okay. So if I was to ask you to give any coaches out there, all right, and we'll get into why your insight's valuable, what's your 10-second hitting advice, 10-second hitting tip for the week?
Get off the plate.
Get off the plate.
Get your players to get off the plate.
All right.
And create enough space for your barrel to do work.
9,
right?
10, done.
Yep. That's
Right,
it.
Good.
Get them off the plate.
Good. Here's mine.
it.
After a game, don't talk so much about how you swung the bat. Talk about what you swung at. Talk about your pitch selection. Everyone knows it, but there's not enough capturing and dialogue about it. So
it's so funny, man. I was talking to our TOU hitters yesterday, and they were coming in getting some work in here, and I talked about their takes. I said, we got to get better at taking pitches. I said, we're bad taking team. Like they're 16-0. Like I'm pushing them like they're not, but they're really good. But I said, if we can take more of the balls that aren't on the white and start swinging at more of the balls that are on the white and stop taking those, like we've got to do a better job of taking pitches. Yeah. And I think it opened a little eyes to them when I was explaining the why behind that. But we get really like we take as a sport, we take more pitches than we swing at.
Well, you
got to become really good
at like with your best teams when you're winning all the time. Yeah, they hear it, but they don't capture it like a loss, right? When there's a reason why they lost. So I tell our kids, look, you could be batting 600, but you happen to foul off 5 pitches in 5 different at bats where that was a pitcher strike that if you would have put in play, you never would have got the 0-2 mistake that you ended up getting your 6 hits on. So yeah, you're hitting well, but the process of your at bats, right? Or a pitcher that's, giving up 1 hit in 4 innings, but it's like, hey, you've got 11 middle misses here. So the fact that it was an atom ball and deep fly ball to center, like, hey, let's talk about some management here. So I think that's key to that. That's a good point. And these are things that again, I think other coaches can really apply to their game.
Yeah. We're going to make next podcast about offense, about hitting.
Cool.
And so that'll be the deal. All right. So it's one big thing time, man. You get to go first.
Here's one big thing that I don't think you know, and I wanted to bring this up to because I feel it's important to share with you because you talk about like sometimes you get a little fired up in a game. So now I'm just going to go on record and say that when the tide started to turn and the Bombers started to kick more firecracker ass than the other way around at the beginning of this relationship, right? So anytime our little kids, little Mighty Mites, can pull off something with you. So we played you at the Bomber Invitational in Davis Diamond. And we happened to sneak a run on the last play of the game. And so it ended up being, I think, a 2-1 game us. Okay. When the kid that hit the ball, okay, and the winning run scored, I had realized that I didn't re-enter her. Now, I know you and how bad you want to win any game. And now I realized this before the run scores. Now I'm watching you. Because I'm ready to race you to the umpire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching you how you're going to react because I fucked up and I didn't re-enter that player, and that takes her moment away, right? And I go, this
Yep.
fucker's going to call me out on it, like I know this guy, right? So now I watch you, and as soon as it comes over, you come out of the dugout, and I'm waiting you for you to go left towards the ump, but you went right toward your outfielder or something like
Yep.
that. And so I just walked right up to the out. I said, by
Mm-hmm.
the way, let's go ahead and re-enter
Put
that
her
one like
back in
right
again.
there. But bro, I fucked that one up, and I was just like, and then watching you because I literally thought he's gonna race me, like we're gonna racing or something like that. But
No.
I felt I needed to share that with you that I didn't re-enter that kid because, and that was just a listen, an invitational game. Later on, I'll tell you a story about during nationals when I believe one of our Pierce didn't re-enter somebody, but or maybe he did. But
Yeah.
man, oh man, little things like that, bro. Woo!
You know what's crazy is I have coaches that's not my like we have stuff lined out. That's not my
Yeah,
job to catch that
yeah.
because I don't want to be focused on those things. And so we have kind of a priorities of work in that.
Hmm.
So I'm pissed. I'm gonna go look back and who the hell was in the freaking dugout and was their job, and we're gonna have a conversation. But no, I had no idea, bro. I just was
No,
mad
it
that
was just
we
fun
got
because it's in that moment of attention to detail. Because how many times now have you and I or seen a game lost because a coach quietly walks out and goes, "Excuse me, uh,
yeah,
this right here," and
yeah,
that's the art of that. When you have those people that you designated, they're like, "Hey, coach, by the
yeah,
way, that one didn't
yeah,
work out." That's like a Shannon Harvey would have seen something like that, right? Like, by
yeah.
the way, on your tax report, you missed this,
Yes, just so you know.
and
Yeah,
that's her attention to detail. So,
yeah.
god dang,
Good
we
stuff.
got lucky with that one. So, all
Good
right, brother.
stuff. One big thing for me, I this just stuck out to me, and I saw a couple things, and I was like, man, I wonder how many, right? So I was curious. I saw, and it was Texas and A&M that jumped out to me just because it pops up on my stuff. And A&M and Texas are both baseball and softball ranked in the top 25. They're both in the top 25. And so I started like, okay, well, wait a minute. Let me go look at this. So I started digging through it. There is a direct correlation to universities that are committed to bat and ball sports. In the top 25, 15 universities have teams ranked in both the baseball and softball top
Wow.
25. That's a big freaking deal. 15 of the 25, all but 10, that's a commitment to those sports. And it's there's just no ifs, ands, buts about it, right? Because there's anomalies in there. There's tell you it's school that
Is
jumps out on
Oklahoma
me.
baseball in there as well with Oklahoma? Or are they one of the 10?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are schools that you would think Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida,
Right.
LSU, right? Here's one that I don't know. Maybe this would you would think that oh no, I could totally see that. This is not one I totally saw. I just don't keep up with them. Oregon has both teams ranked in the top 25. Here's another one that jumps out to me. Virginia has both teams ranked in the top 25. Like you're committing resources, attention, marketing, whatever the heck it takes to be in the top 25 in Division One athletics and anything. You're doing some things right. When both your baseball and your softball team, then I started looking back at it. The majority of these, they're committed to facilities. They all have incredible facilities. They're just incredible. They're just Florida State, Georgia, Arkansas, A&M. There's one that jumps out on here that is not committed to facilities. Stanford. They're both in there.
Well, and Stanford's
And
built
it's
just in
hard to
all
get
fairness,
into Stanford.
they're building their stadium, so they
Yeah, but
actually
it's
are.
hard to get into Stanford.
But then
It's
there's that
like,
whole story, Scott, of the pack and just went
yeah, yeah,
for whatever reason, it's easy on the outside, but you're looking at a conference that has always been near and dear to our heart. But the facilities in general across the board were just like, come on, bro. Like, come on.
yeah,
It took
yeah.
Candrea to go in there and kind of shake it up after what 20 something years of winning to get something
Mm-hmm.
better at Arizona. So,
Yeah,
shout out to, I want to say I started to see it mostly in the SEC, right? When the venues really started changing. And that's a big part of like TV friendly softball
Yeah,
is where these places are how they're starting to look.
incredible. Like the investments. I think that's what I think that to me is what excites me the most is the amount of money that people are putting into those facilities and the player experience in playing there and the fan experience in going and watching the game there and the overall have you seen Georgia's new facility, bro? Oh no. Dude, no.
No more the
We no, dude, they built a third no, the stadium is there. They added $30 million worth of renovations. Go just we get off of
wow,
here,
excellent.
get on Google Georgia softball new and look at the video of this place. Like incredible, incredible. Like it's as nice as anything. Davis Diamond, still to me from a softball stadium, it's hard to beat. That's a hard facility. I haven't been to the new OU one yet, and I'm hearing that's silliness too. Like
Yeah.
that's super nice.
Yeah. No,
Um,
it is awesome to see the sport grow. I'll never forget the first time I heard like chain link will never show well on TV. So it's just all the netting, all the good,
yeah.
venues, the intimacy of the size of the stadium. There's just so much,
Hmm.
I'm really proud of this sport because I'm the first one to shoot it to shit if it doesn't look good or it's not
Yeah.
presenting itself well. Not try not to be blinded because this is what we do. But man, there's some beautiful, a lot of great opportunities for our kids to play. And the majority of players in softball that are the general
Hmm.
population that are, not the top 1%, they've got such great opportunities. And it's a good time to be a
Well, and they're all
softball
getting to
player.
go. Yeah, and they're all getting to go to those camps and experience it in some form or fashion and be on that field and stuff. So I think it's just fun.
Yeah,
It's
no,
cool.
that's a good one, man. Good takeaway. Baseball and softball, the bat and ball sports.
That's it.
I
All
think
right,
interesting.
bub. Episode 2 in the books on this.
You got it.
Ton of fun, man.
You got it, Scotty. We will let me know when this one rolls out, and we'll check in, and we'll do it again in a couple of weeks. And I'd like to get it a little into since you talked about hitting, is start. There's got to be a lot of coaches curious on what you've done with data, right? And how you've applied it to build your program. So I would really like to, and that's one of the kind of cool things in our perspectives of the things that we prioritize for different reasons and how that story came to be, and why you did it, and really how can someone get started and start to look at things that are going to make a difference versus gaining knowledge but you don't make a difference with it. Because I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people in softball that have knowledge, but are they making lineups up? Are they winning? Are they conquering things? Are they solving problems? Are they working through brackets? I mean, that's another layer of advice and guidance when someone's going through that. So I really want to start to chip away at that stuff too, because I think there's going to be some really good takeaways in how you've built your success. So we're going to talk more about that.
I
All right.
look forward to it, man. And I would ask I would implore anybody that follows us, like you always say, the 1, the 2, the 5 people that are out there,
Who's 50?
um, 50, yeah, to go on to our social media stuff and put on there any questions you have about
What do you want us to talk about?
yeah, what do you want to know? Like, because obviously we'd love for that to spearhead a lot of the conversations that we have. So please, man, like, oh, and by the way, Tex-Mex one on there.
Get the fuck out of here.
Text that I put a poll out, bro.
I know, what I was going to ask you about that.
I put a poll out. It's out there.
Come on, Cali.
Tex-Mex
Come on,
one,
Cali
dog.
people. Let's go.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't know I don't know all the people that voted, and I may or may not have told people to go on there and vote.
But you know
But
what? Good food is good food.
good food
It's
is
all
good
good. I'm
food,
not
and
gonna
you're
I'm
gonna
not gonna get mad if you put a Whataburger in front of me. Like, come on, it's all good.
had it for breakfast this morning.
There you go. Food
Had
of
a breakfast taco.
breakfast
You
of
know what?
champions.
The next time I'm out in California, we have got to go to what was the name of the steak place?
BLKs.
Be okay.
First
And
of
we're
all,
gonna
I'm gonna cook you one of my fucking mail-in steaks, and you're not even gonna know the difference. Shit.
I'm not eating that shit. Uh, so we're gonna go to BLK, but we're gonna have somebody like we'll get Robin or somebody to follow us, and we'll film it, and we'll give BLK will get some advertisement out of it. We'll get to in real time get to see what it looks like to eat a ribeye from
All right,
California out of a
bro.
box.
All right.
Like we're gonna do it.
You're right. You listen. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Let's do it.
We're on it.
I'm in. I'm
All
in.
right,
All
brother.
right, guys.
You have a good
Appreciate
one.
y'all listening,
Thanks,
man. We'll
everyone.
see you next time.
Hey, follow like, all that other bullshit. You know what to do.
Hit that little thumb button and subscribe. Subscribe on the YouTube channel too, please.
That's it.
So, all right,
All
guys,
right,
y'all
people.
good. Be good.
Take care.
You're listening to the Two in the Mud podcast with Tony Rico and Scott Smith.